5 soldiers at a time. All right, so that's what we're heading into, Dunkirk.
Okay, so in terms of Dunkirk, as we jump into this, the most important thing Mr. McGuire described or touched upon is that the Allied soldiers were trapped. Okay, they were cornered on the beach, okay, by Germany and German forces. Okay, and Dunkirk was basically the rescue or how those soldiers were evacuated. Okay, we can't talk about Dunkirk without first talking about the Blitzkrieg. Do you guys remember what that is?
Yes.
Have you heard the term before? What's Blitzkrieg?
Basically the fastest war that ever happened.
Okay, lightning warfare. Okay, it's a tactic used, right? That's very quick.
It's like bayonet charging, except they use tanks.
Okay, I see the comparison you're trying to draw there. Yeah, it's basically a charge, right? It's we're gonna move fast, we're gonna attack with full force, and we're gonna basically penetrate your forces, right? And try to create divisions and conquer quickly. All right. So talking about Blitzkrieg, just a few notes here. It's a term used to describe method of offensive warfare designed to strike with a swift, focused blow at an enemy using mobile and maneuverable forces, including armored tanks and air support. In comparison to World War I, how was World War I fought? Trenches, trench warfare. Was it fast moving or very slow moving? They hunkered down, right? Bombarded by bombs, machine gun fire. Since World War I ended, okay, Germany, all right, especially when Hitler starts to take the reins, okay, starts building up their forces and starts strategizing, right? We don't want to get bunkered down again in the trenches like we did last time. So we're going to change the way we fight wars. Okay, we're going to be quick. We're going to be maneuverable. We're going to redesign our tanks, redesign our weaponry, and redesign the way we go about fighting these wars. So now they're mobile, okay, and they want to attack with quick, abrupt sort of strikes, okay? Definition of Blitzkrieg, it translates to lightning war, okay, but like we said, it's a tactic used in war. This section, and this is all in your Google Classroom again. If you guys choose to read along, if not, you can just get eyes up here. This section describes how, again, in World War I, or after their defeat in World War I, they kind of changed their tactics. The comparison between Germany and France, okay, the French decided instead of building their armies or changing the way their tactics of going to war, they decided to really focus their efforts on creating a border around their country, okay, fortifying their borders with more defensive type of warfare. Okay, now it gets into World War II. So a lot of people argue that the start of World War II, okay, is actually when Germany decides to invade Norway. Okay, they go up north. So World War II is fought in here, okay? Up here, where Norway, Sweden are, they are considered neutral countries. They're not involved. They're not in the conflict, okay? But they go into Norway, they take control pretty easily, okay, using this Blitzkrieg method, because they want control of this waterway, and they also want iron, which there's a lot of iron in Sweden, right? What do you use iron for in war? To build things, right? To build machinery, ammunitions. So first they secure their supply of iron, okay? They secure this waterway and the ability to transport that iron and goods, okay? And then they start with the Blitzkrieg attacks against the French and British, okay? So, oh man, I got a step-by-step on what happened here. Okay, so number one. So real quick, that's an actual photo from Dunkirk. That's one of the destroyers. You can see it loaded with soldiers. Okay, so on May 10th, 1940, Germany invades Belgium. okay, the Netherlands and France, using the lightning-fast, tank-driven, air-supported blitzkrieg that had worked so well in Poland the years before, okay? On May 13th, the Dutch government evacuates Britain. On May 14th, Rotterdam is nearly obliterated by bombs. So, if you can see, Adelina, can you see from where you're at, these kind of dotted lines? Okay, so here's Belgium, here's the Netherlands, and here's France down here, okay? Germany is attacking east to west, right? They're attacking toward the water, okay? So you can see with these arrows, the direction in which they're kind of focusing their forces, right? So on the run, German forces open a 50-mile wide gap, okay, in the Allied defenses. So we talked about, Ethan, can you let him in, please? Go ahead and grab a seat. Thank you, sir. So we talked about, while Germany, after World War I, they decided to change their tactics. They're re-strategizing and rethinking the way they fight wars. France was busy building up its borders right along that dotted line, okay? The problem was, and we'll get to it in the video, the problem was there was an area of forestry, okay, kind of in the middle of France's border that had a deep valley to it, a lot of trees, and they felt it was impenetrable. Okay, they said there's no way they can bring all these tanks and all these machinery and all these weapons through here. So we're only going to kind of lightly fortify it, right? There's just a few defensive stations, a few soldiers in this area. They focused their defense and their walls on either side of it, okay? But the forest was left exposed. So German forces open a 50-mile wide gap in Allied defenses and begin pouring into France, okay? So when they broke through that forest, okay, they broke through the defenses, they were able to surround the British and French troops, okay, in this area up here, all right? When they did that, they were able to pour into France, cutting off the Allied positions, with Belgian and French positions giving away on either side. Yeah, please. The British expeditionary force is ordered to fall back and hold fast, right? So once they cut them off, once they built their troops all the way to the water, who do they need? Aiden's not here. Yeah, not here today. Ethan, grab a seat, bud. Do it later. Let's go. Okay, so in short, they are cut off. They go all the way to the water. Okay, now they're going to start closing in, right? That's how it comes to pass that 340,000 British and French troops find themselves trapped in the Channel, city of Dunkirk, France. Okay. Meanwhile, in Britain, Prime Minister Winston Churchill puts out an emergency call for every available vessel, military, civilian, to aid in a mass evacuation. All right, so at this point, they are trapped. Okay, you can see how that kind of unoccupied area, right, has shrunk to really small at Dunkirk, right? And that's just a small beach where all the troops are kind of backs against the water, and they've given up. They said we have to evacuate, right? But like Mr. McGuire was saying, instead of, and this is a bulk of the British French military. This is a lot of soldiers. If they were to finish them off there, the world could look very different today, right? That's a huge accomplishment for Germany at that point if they were to eliminate those soldiers. But rather than focus their attention there, okay, they said, we got this in hand. I feel pretty confident about that. Let's start taking over toward Paris. So they took all their heavy machinery, all their heavy weaponry, all their tanks, okay, and split their forces more or less, which turns out to be a big mistake for Germany. Okay, Operation Dynamo. That's what Winston Churchill called the evacuation, Operation Dynamo. About 1,000 vessels, destroyers and other warships, channel ferries, steamers, and even small cabin cruisers answer the call. Troops line up along the beach and board large vessels via the one waterfront pier, while others wade into the water and pulled out by smaller fishing vessels. All the while, German forces bombard the city, and occasionally the troops huddled on the beach, while artillery and strafe them from the air. Okay, so basically, there's not enough military ships to come in, okay, and take all these soldiers easily and quickly. The waters are shallow. Um, there's all kinds of bombing going on from the air, machine gun fire. Um, they just can't get the military vessels inside. So they're using civilians, smaller boats, smaller fishing ships. Like they said, even ferries, right? Do you guys know what a ferry is? That does what? Transports. Okay, so it's built for that, right? Do you think it's built and made to transport under fire in a military sense? No. But it goes back and forth and shuttles across that channel, typically, right? So they're using these civilian people. Do they have to do it? If you're the ferry captain, do you have to go pick up these soldiers? No, heck no. You can get out of there, right? But a lot of these people answer the call and say, you know what, these guys need our help. So a lot of different boats, a lot of different types of people, okay, jumped in to help rescue these soldiers, okay? And with that, a lot, unfortunately, lost their lives in trying to do so, okay? Again, lots of bombs being dropped, okay, a lot of machine gun fire, artillery from the land, right, toward the water, all kinds of stuff going on. And right here, it kind of illustrates the different routes. Like if you were a boat captain trying to decide, okay, how do we get out of here? Here's a couple different routes that they took, right? So Route X is the most direct route from Dunkirk to Dover, okay, England. Heavily mined. You guys know what mines are? What are they? Explosives? Underground? Okay, these are sea mines. So same concept, but they're in the water. And what happens? How do they activate? With contact, right? So typically if you bump into it, it explodes, right? So this whole like shortest line from point A to point B is filled with mines, right? So that's option one, okay? You can go down here, Route Z, okay? But if you travel along the shoreline, what are you more prone to being attacked by? Artillery from land, right? You're in range. So they now, soldiers that are on the ground, right, can actually fire at you, okay? If you go all the way around into deeper waters, right, I'm going to avoid the mines. I'm going to get far away from shore so they can't fire. What are you running into now? What other type of vessels are there in the ocean? U-boats, submarines. Okay, so now you're susceptible to that type of attack. So there was no good answer. Okay, everyone had kind of different ways about it, and it was so congested with people going back and forth, it was a mess, right? So you're trying to navigate mines that you may or may not be able to see. Okay, you're trying to navigate artillery launched from land. You're trying to avoid bombs being dropped on you. Okay, planes coming down shooting at you. And who knows if any U-boats are around, right? Aiming for you. Okay, because you're one of a lot of ships, right? That's kind of in the same area. They might be just taking general fire, right? In a general area and just trying to hit something. So the operation begins on May 26th, okay, with 7,669 troops pulled off the beach on that first day. So almost 8,000 troops, okay, pulled off the beach on day one. All right, that's pretty successful in my opinion. The effort picks up the next day, and they go from about 8,000 to 19,000. So they more than double their efforts. Ships laden with battle-weary men rush across the English Channel to Dover, unload, and then head back for more. So not only are these civilians, these normal, everyday people, okay, going to pick up soldiers, going into gunfire, going into bombardment, okay, battling the U-boats, battling the mines, they're doing it over and over again, right? So that's the type of bravery these guys exhibited. 6 British and 3 French destroyers are sunk by German fire, and 19 more take heavy damage. In addition, 217 other crafts are sunk, including 161 civilian little ships. So by day 2, 161 civilian ships destroyed, gone. The Belgian army surrenders on May 28th, putting even more pressure on the effort. By the time Operation Dynamo ends on June 4th, take a guess. Take a guess at how many people were saved. 8,000 on day 1, 19,000 on day 2. Operation Dynamo lasted 9 days, over a week of this type of bombardment and rescue. Give me a number, guys. What do you guys think? 19,000 on day 2. 50,000? 100,000? In 9 days. And this is why this Dunkirk is so significant, right? Over 338,000 men. Okay, 2/3 of them, most of them were British soldiers, would be evacuated. On that day, the rear guard remaining in Dunkirk, 40,000 French troops also surrendered. And here's some actual photos from the beach of Dunkirk. You can see how congested it is. So imagine that many people in one spot, bombing, shooting, right? So, and remember, this lasted over 9 days. Okay, lasted over 9 days. There was, so if, let's just say, okay, this is water. That's the channel, right? This side is land. This is Dunkirk. Sorry for the crudeness of my drawing. All the ships are out here, right? Okay, here's the boats trying to pick up. How are the soldiers getting into the ships, into the boats? Like physically, how are they getting there? Okay, so there is a dock area that was soon destroyed, right? There was also a jetty. Do you guys know what a jetty is? You guys ever go to the beach and see that long, not a pier, it's like a long wall of rocks that goes into the water? Break wall, okay? There's a long break wall that stretches, I think they said almost a mile long. The video will get into more detail, okay? But rather than one ship at a time coming up to this dock, right, they realized there was too many people on the beach. Let me erase this real quick. So meanwhile, what's going on, right? People are trying to get on boats to the dock. They're going through the water, trying to climb the ladders. It's a slow-moving process, right? Because you got all your packs, your gun. What is going on the whole time we talked about? Why is this situation so intense? Okay, so there's bombs, there's shooting coming from the planes. Where else are the attackers coming from? Where are the German forces at? From the mainland. So, meanwhile, during this whole evacuation, there's this perimeter set up of Allied soldiers, okay? And they're fending off German soldiers from all sides. Do you think a lot of those guys made it home? Probably not, right? So that took a lot of bravery as well to hold their ground. If that line broke, if German forces were able to reach the water, you guys think the mission fails? Okay. So again, at some point they realized wading through the water, trying to get one boat at a time to the dock, it just wasn't working. So they started sending all their soldiers out to the breakwater, okay, out to the jetty, where they could all line up and fill this up. Now you had multiple boats and larger boats that can come up to it. Does that make sense? So we're able to get soldiers out a lot quicker. So again, it gets to the point, the further they get out, it gets to the point where they're swimming, literally swimming with all their uniform on and all their gear. So let's jump into the video, and it kind of describes a little bit better some of the topics that we discussed, and we'll go from there. Let's get the volume up first.
To friends. Nearly 80 years ago, thousands upon thousands of servicemen in the British Expeditionary Force force, alongside
Ethan,
French and Belgian
Kevin White.
allied troops, stood on these sands, staring out to the English Channel, waiting to be brought to safety in England. Surrounded by German panzers and terrorized by the Luftwaffe above, their only hope would come by sea. Join me as Wargaming takes a look back to remember Dunkirk and the events leading to the evacuation.
That is actually at Dunkirk.
September 1st, 1939. Germany successfully invades Poland, prompting England and France to declare war on Germany 2 days later. The
Okay, Great Britain and France declared war on Germany after their invasion of what country? Russia, Belgium, Italy, or Poland? Poland. I apologize. I think I may have misspoke earlier. Poland was the first country of invasion.
annexing of Poland, comprised of tanks, warplanes, and warships, marks the beginning of World War II as we know it in the West. May 10th, 1940. Germany invades at dawn, deploying all of its forces against France, Luxembourg, Belgium, and the Netherlands. But France has the Maginot Line, a line of fortifications standing against the borders of Switzerland.
Okay, so you saw remember the map earlier I showed you guys had the 3 arrows of direction when they started their blitzkrieg attack. Okay, so that was 3 concentrated areas of extreme force with speed, right? With all their tanks, the military, maneuverable gear.
Germany and Luxembourg, designed to deter a German invasion such as this. French soldiers positioned themselves along their Maginot Line, while the British Expeditionary Forces.
So the Maginot Line is the French border that we talked about. That was their military deterrence, right? That was their defense line from German
The BEF
forces.
and the rest of the French Allied soldiers deployed themselves against the Belgium and Luxembourg borders.
Okay, the French defensive line, we separated it from Germany, was known as the Bastille Line, the Versailles Line, the Alsace-Lorraine Line, or the Maginot Line. You guys are so smart.
Neutral. The Allies cannot enter Belgium and prepare a defensive position. Germany brings westward army fatigue.
Okay, why did they say France couldn't go into Belgium and prepare their forces? Why? Why is it considered an invasion?
Because they're going to terms with their own army.
So, where does Belgium sit in this conflict? Are they siding with Germany or are they siding with France? Well, do you think if they were allied with France at this point? That's what I'm saying. Which side are they on? Do they have a side yet? They're neutral. Okay? And they don't want any part of it. So they're saying, no, don't come in here because you're going to bring the Germans in here. We don't want to get involved, right? So France is stuck at the border. Belgium won't let them in.
Comprised of thousands of armored vehicles, while more than 1,000 bombers, dive bombers, and fighters fire upon the airfields of the Netherlands, Luxembourg, Belgium, and France. Nearly 3 hours after they're being attacked, Belgium permits the British and French to enter the country. Within the day, most of the Dutch air force is destroyed, and Luxembourg is conquered.
Okay, so not until after they're attacked, they finally say, okay, you guys come in and help us out, right? So the defense isn't quite set up like the way they'd want, and eventually Luxembourg gets conquered.
Meanwhile, a flaw in the Maginot Line is exploited. Because the French...
So here's the forest we were talking about, right? It's kind of a valley, kind of rough terrain, the trees. They're like, there's no way the Germans are going to get through here. Okay, so we're not going to really protect it. They're not going to worry about it. Let's worry about everything else. Watch what Germany does.
French believe that the Ardennes forest is impenetrable. The area is only lightly fortified. Germany's Army Group A, made up of 41,000 people.
Okay, the French believed that the exposed region of the Maginot Line was impenetrable. What was this region? The Forbidden Forest, the Argonne Forest, the Bialowieza Forest, or the Pit-Weiss Lakes? The Forbidden Forest or the Argonne Forest? Argonne Forest. Okay, remember, when we go through these things, I know there's a lot of detail, in the videos and the lectures, remember big, large core concepts, right? Ultimately, we got to know, how did they break the defensive lines of the French and the British? What did they travel through? Okay. Was it heavily protected? Okay. That's it. We're good.
1,000 vehicles,
What's that?
panzers, armored cars, self-propelled guns, and more, pass through Luxembourg and into the forest. Germany crosses the Meuse River, and by May 15th, captures Sedan and heads west, flanking the entire Allied army. On this day, the Netherlands surrender to Germany.
Okay, so now you can see how once they sealed, they created a line of forces. What's that? Correct. Once they surrounded the forces, right? They connected their forces, their soldiers, all the way to the water. There was nowhere for the Allies to go.
With the Allies surrounded by German forces, British Prime Minister Winston Churchill activates a plan to evacuate the soldiers from the northern coast of France, codenamed Operation Dynamo. Though there are hundreds of thousands of servicemen in France, it is believed that only 45,000 troops, at best, can be evacuated. May 22nd, to ensure that nobody will escape, Germany attacks the coastal towns of Boulogne and Calais with their panzers. But there's another port that evades the Germans' attention, Dunkirk.
Ethan, what was the Panzer? What kind of tank? Like the old, big, slow, sluggish World War I versions? It was fast. Fast and maneuverable.
Thousands of Allied soldiers
Correct. Right? Goes with the Blitzkrieg model.
march towards the coast in the hope of a miracle. As they march,
Okay, which French port became the center of the Allied retreat for the European mainland? Dunkirk.
the German stupid dive bombers attack the soldiers below. Nevertheless, the survivors endeavor their way to Dunkirk. May 27th, Operation Dynamo commences. A handful of supply ships, ferries, and small passenger vessels set sail for Dunkirk. However, embarking on the boats proves challenging. The waters of Dunkirk are too shallow to allow larger vessels. To protect them,
Okay, vessels could not reach the Allied troops to help the evacuation because they were too what? Too shallow. Too shallow and the ships were too heavy.
protect the port.
Too large.
British and French troops establish a strong perimeter. These defenses hold back the panzers by land, but by air, the Luftwaffe attack, raining terror from above. The Royal Air Force launches its own fighters to protect the ships and the soldiers. The German and British war.
Sorry, I should have paused it earlier. So that is the perimeter that I was talking about, right? So there's warfare going on land, right? So when German forces are firing at the perimeter soldiers and they miss, where do these shells go? Well, in terms of close range guns, weapons, right? Handheld weapons. So there's gunfire. There's gunfire heading toward the soldiers. Yes. I don't know.
It was like a big gun that the Nazis made and it ran on train tracks.
I know there was weaponry. I don't know if it was created at this point.
Yeah, it was run on train tracks. I'm pretty sure they used it like during the battle during the.
Well, that was part of the procurement of iron, right? Because they were making all these. They were trying to get their weaponry as destructive as possible while being able to maneuver it and move it quickly, right? So I know they were really working on all kinds of ideas. I don't know about that one specifically. Why don't you look it up? Look it up tonight and we'll talk about it tomorrow. Like I said, look it up tomorrow. We'll talk about it and I'll let you present on it for a quick minute. Fair enough? The air is not on. It's warm in here. Yes, I'll go adjust it right now. Let me get through this and I'll go adjust it for you. I love you. Okay? Love you guys, for sure. So, perimeter, gunfire, artillery going through the mainland, right? From the mainland to the beach. Bombs being dropped from above. Okay? What else? They said the British Air Force got involved, right? Okay, so what does that mean? What's that called when planes fight each other?
It's a
Dogfighting, right? So now there's dogfighting going above your head. What does that sound like? What does that look like? Can you imagine the chaos that's going on over a 9-day span, over a week? You can't okay, it's 5 o'clock, everybody pause, let's go take a nap, right? A week, 24/7 of just warfare, and you're confined to the small beach. Okay, imagine the what these soldiers must have felt, right? Like for sure, like we're dead, it's over, right? So all this is going on, and now it's going to get into the kind of the boats and the civilians that helped out.
Airplanes have vicious dogfights above. By the end of the day, only 7,669 troops are evacuated. May 28th, the dogfights continue until, at last, some gathering clouds above provide cover to the Allies below. The planes cannot fly and they cannot attack. For the troops on the beaches of Dunkirk, this is a welcome moment of relief. In the east, the Belgians are still holding.
So German planes halted their assault on the stranded soldiers due to what? Cloud cover. Can you imagine, again, put yourself in that situation, the turmoil you're in, the stress, to look up and all of a sudden it's overcast. And it's just a relief, right? Overcoming relief, at least for a moment, right? That these guys must have felt, because at least the planes couldn't fight.
Still holding back much of German Army Group B until, on this day, Belgium officially surrenders to Germany. Without a Belgian defense, Army Group B has nothing to stop them from attacking Dunkirk. From every direction, the Germans.
So remember, there's three, right? A, B, and C. Okay? Since Belgium just lost, that unit of German forces is now headed where? To join what fight? Well, this is the start of World War II, okay? But now that unit of German forces has defeated and conquered Belgium, they'll leave some soldiers there to kind of keep ownership of it. But now they're going to send those forces to Dunkirk, right? So the clock's ticking. Got to get the soldiers out because it's inevitable, right? More German forces are coming. We're not going to last much longer.
Pour into the northern coast. At Dunkirk, the Allies devise a new plan to ensure a more efficient evacuation.
So that's that breakwater we were talking about, right? That jetty.
The soldiers will embark atop the eastern breakwater, otherwise known as the Eastern Mole, stretching out nearly a mile. The water alongside the mole is deep enough for several destroyers to dock. Dozens of ships, including destroyers, minesweepers, lifeboats, and more, evacuate 17,804 men. The breakwater evacuation proved successful, but watching the evacuated ships sink into the waters quickly dashes.
So you just spent a couple days, right? Like avoiding gunfire, avoiding bombs, avoiding artillery. You're wet, you're in the water, you're freezing. All of a sudden, you get on the boat. Ah, oh, thank God, finally on the boat, right? Now what do you have to navigate? Well, the captain has to, right? So you're just fingers crossed, hoping we make it.
Any hopes of crossing the English Channel. May 29th, German Stukas and Luftwaffe continue their attacks, sinking destroyers, personnel ships, and other boats, each with hundreds of evacuees on them. They attempt to attack the mole, but do little to no damage on the breakwater itself. In spite of Germany's efforts to deter the evacuation, 47,310 men are saved. May 30th, German pressure eases once again, with cloudy skies preventing the Luftwaffe from attacking, and many of the Panzer divisions ordered south to conquer the rest of France, in what is known as Germany's Operation Red.
So remember, Mr. McGuire touched on this. They had the Allies right where they wanted them. They were cornered at Dunkirk, about to finish them off, and then Germany split their forces and went where? Further to France, right after the capital. Okay.
53.
German tanks were sent away from Dunkirk to the south in order to conquer what country? We just talked about France.
53,800.
Sorry, I'm getting ahead of my questions here.
Are brought to England. Still, Nearly 200,000 troops remained hopelessly stranded on the beaches of Dunkirk. May 31st. With the most powerful German Stukas now fighting in the south, the attacks leave little damage on this day. Meanwhile, the citizens of England gathered together more than 100 civilian boats of every shape and size at Ramsgate, determined to save as many men as possible. Together, they make up the little ships of Dunkirk and set sail in a flotilla. Some civilians are
Let me see if I can go back. Did you guys catch that? I don't think so.
as many men as possible.
What type of boat is this?
Together, they make up the little.
What kind of boats are these? Lifeboats. Do they have motors on them?
Nope, just rows.
Man, it's a smaller boat. Probably fits. I don't know what. Roughly 10 soldiers. Looks like maybe. Okay, you got oars. You're avoiding gunfire. You're avoiding bombs. Don't hit any of the mines. Watch out for the U-boats. Correct. Correct. That is an excellent point. That is an excellent point. The mines are underwater, okay? And only the larger ships, because they sit lower in the water, it's meant for those. So a lot of these lighter boats were able to go right over the top of them. Not to say that was always true, right? But there was still that concern. Would you agree? Good point. You did a great job, bud.
Ships of Dunkirk and set sail in a flotilla. Some civilians are attacked, some civilians sink. Most continue courageously. Because of the little ships, the citizens contribute to the most successful day of Operation Dynamo, evacuating 68,014 men. June 1st, recognizing that the BEF are escaping successfully, the Germans ordered the Luftwaffe to return to Dunkirk and stop them. Hundreds of Stukas and bomber sorties shoot down English fighters and sink ships. By land, German artillery fires upon the perimeter of Dunkirk, now being defended largely by French soldiers. Despite the attacks, 62,429 troops are saved. June 2nd, the bombing of warplanes and strafing by tanks continue, and 26,256 soldiers are saved. On June 3rd, 26,746.
Can you guys comprehend? Like each day, we're in high double-digit numbers, right? In terms of soldiers saved. How many students do you guys think are here at Sunny Hills? Let's say roughly 2,000. Okay, roughly 2,000. So that's a lot of Sunny Hills, right? Every single day. That's a lot of people, okay? Over 26,000. What's that? I apologize. We're getting off topic. I don't know. Maybe 500. But roughly there's between 2,000 and 2,500 students here at Sunny Hills, okay? I'm trying to give you guys a comparison to the big number that this is being saved on boats every single day.
And on June 4th, during an overnight evacuation, 26,175 troops are evacuated. Operation Dynamo, estimated to save a maximum of 45,000 soldiers, saves more than 338,000 men.
Very much so. Operation Dynamo, the British evacuation of Dunkirk, saved over 300,000 lives. True or false? So over 300,000. When they came up with the plan, how many did they think they would save? 40,000, right? I think it said 45,000. But that's a big difference, right? Huge success.
A significant portion of the British Army's fighting force were represented by the BEF. The rescue personnel would go on to form the core of the rebuilt army, which would carry on the fight. Had they not been evacuated, it was feared that Germany could have invaded and even defeated England. The evacuation of Dunkirk, otherwise known as the Miracle of Dunkirk, remains a remarkable turning point in World War II history. By land, by sea, by air, several nations battled over the lives of hundreds of thousands of soldiers. The miracle of Dunkirk is that in spite of all these odds, these soldiers lived.
There we go. Okay, lights, please, Ethan. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Pretty amazing story, right? Due to a flaw in their plan, right? Actually, I'll tell you what. I was going to give you guys an activity to do, but since we're low on time, let's just have a little informal chat about what we learned about today. Okay? Man, it is warm in here, Adeline. There's no way you're still cold.
I'm still cold.
You need to stand under this heater. So let's start from the beginning. Okay? Blitzkrieg. We know it stands for lightning war. Okay? Someone describe it for me. Yep. Okay. Quick, maneuverable, hard striking. I'm just turning it off. Making the heater stop where it's at. Okay. So Blitzkrieg, lightning war, quick, maneuverable, hard striking. Okay, that was Germany's new tactic for war. Okay, when they attacked, phone down, please, sir. Your hair still looks good, like the Santa hat. Okay, what was the huge break for the German army? Yeah, what was the break for them? What was the big mistake that the Allies made when creating their defense perimeter? The forest. They didn't protect the Argonne forest. Why? They thought there's no way the German forces could get through there, right? At least in large scale. They were wrong. What happened next? So it's important to note that Germany was attacking on 3 different fronts, right? And then go ahead, Ethan. What happened? They got through the forest. What did that allow them to do? Yeah, so again, here's the forces, right? We said here's the forest, more or less. Okay? So when Germany came through, here's the water, here's land, France is down here. I just turned it off, is all I did. Oh. We got about 10 more minutes in here. We're out of here. You'll be all right. So, German breaks through the Argonne forest, okay? And they create this forest that extends all the way to the water. So, yes, even to your point, okay? Let's say Dunkirk's in here. Okay? These troops were surrounded. This is a huge part, right, of the British troops. 2/3 of the soldiers trapped here in the Allies were British troops, right? Some were also French, okay? But let's say instead of surrounded these soldiers, they created a division between the French and British soldiers, okay? So once they had these guys, this portion surrounded, they kept fighting here, okay? They held this line. But what did they do here, Adelina? What happened next? Once the German forces surrounded the Allies in here, what did they do next? Adelina. Okay? How did they bomb them? Okay? How else? What else? What else shoots artillery? Let her answer. Let her answer. He's not wrong. So you're correct. Yeah, let me just write it. My pictures kind of suck. So they had U-boats, right? Attacking there. They had planes attacking, okay, from all sides. Okay, what was in here other than soldiers and like foot soldiers? What else was in here? Tanks, right? So no, we had tanks. I believe in you. I believe in you. We're almost done. So they're attacking from all sides. This area shrinks all the way to the beach of Dunkirk, right? There's 2 more ports that they talked about. The Germans took those over. Okay. What else is important about Dunkirk? Okay. When the Germans finally surrounded the Allies into the tiny beach of Dunkirk, right? In comparison to their numbers, did Germany finish them off? They just put an end to it? What'd they do? They sent their tanks and a large part of their forces down to France, right? And changed their attention that way. Think planes went with them as well? Okay. Planes went with them as well. All right. So rather than finishing off the Allies when they had them in Dunkirk, they split their forces. What did it allow the Allies to do? Operation what? Operation Red Hawk. Come on, you remember. Who constructed the evacuation? Let me ask you that. UK. Who was in charge of the UK? The Prime Minister. We're getting closer. This is important. Got to know the guy's name. Played a huge role. First name is Winston Churchill. Okay? Winston Churchill came up with Operation what? Take a look at the board. Operation Dynamo. Oh my goodness. Okay, fair enough. But when you hear the word Operation Dynamo, I need you to understand what it was. Okay? Operation Dynamo lasted how many days? Do you guys remember? More or less a week. Specifically, 9 days. Okay, and lastly, roughly, how many soldiers were saved in all? Over 300,000. Yeah, closer to 340. But let's say over 300,000 saved. How many do they think they were going to save when they came up with the idea? 45. Big success, right? So, anyway, I need you guys to understand Blitzkrieg, Lightning War, right? Tactic used by Germany. Dunkirk is where the event took place, right? Operation Dynamo was created by who? Winston Churchill. That was the rescue. Okay, it took 9 days, involved military and civilian ships, over 300,000 saved. Tomorrow, okay, we're going to dive into Dunkirk a little bit further. We're going to show a snippet from the movie, right? And then we'll do an activity to kind of re-solidify the information. So great job, guys. Great job today. Welcome back. Happy Monday. Just wait for the bell. Okay, we got about another minute or two. Good work. Good work.